Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's session, how your supplier portal can drive technology ROI in today's modern landscape. And thank you very much to all of you that have joined us today. So on today's call, we've got myself. So I look after product marketing here at Hicks, and I'm delighted to welcome Phil Pandal, Head of Solution Consulting, who will be bringing this to life for us with a guided tour a little later on as part of Hicks's answer to this problem, namely the supplier experience portal. So before we jump into all of that, in terms of the agenda, just a little bit of housekeeping to start with. This call is recorded and will be made available on demand later. You'll see at the bottom of the list some time has been put aside for Q&A, so do feel free to submit a question at any time through the chat functionality. We'll answer those that we can at the end, and any that we don't get to or need to follow up on, we'll do that after the session. Now, I know we're all excited to get to the demo part, so I won't keep us too long in reaching that. But before I do, I will just take a moment to set the scene a little bit for us first. So to start us off with then, and then also level set slightly, I think the first important factor to take into account is that supplier portal isn't necessarily referring to the same thing for all people. So it's become a bit of a catch-all, and it can refer to multiple things. It could be, for example, transactional systems, here the likes of Tungsten. It could relate to collaborative platforms such as SAP Business Network or Ariba. Could be data portals, here thinking the likes of EcoVadis et al. Or it could refer to UIs of individual systems or tools. So therefore, portal as a term isn't necessarily very helpful on its own, given how widely it's applied and also used in all of these different scenarios. So instead, we think a much better way of looking at it and looking at these solutions is a collection of all of these different digital services that we can see here on the screen. So these solutions, or services as we'll call them, these all solve different problems. And of course, a large organization will use lots of digital services, but these tools in and of themselves will or should not be seen as supplier portal. Now, given that some sort of fully automated machine-to-machine integrated model where all the data for all transactions and supplier-buyer interactions are available for any web call just isn't available and won't be anytime soon, we are left with a bit of a problem with this landscape, which is either we accept this as it is, and that suppliers, because of all of these different areas, they have to log into multiple systems, and we run manual workarounds as and when, with all the overhead that comes with that. And that brings overhead both for suppliers and business users, of course, as well. Or we start thinking about supplier portal as a one-to-many model or a one-to-many approach, where large companies offer their thousands or tens of thousands of suppliers a single portal to access all services, and then on top of that, look to use that portal to optimize the experience and remove as much friction as possible. So to build that definition, we want to reframe this in a bit of a different way. And I think if we were to actually approach this from the perspective of what do suppliers want, and if we were to summarize what suppliers actually want, in the end, it's pretty simple. So if we look at the list here, we want to send and receive POs and invoices, see the status of these, see the status of payments quickly, easily, and in real time. Suppliers want to access whatever information you need to tell them, but without wading through a bunch of other stuff that's perhaps relevant only to other categories of supplier or other locations or different risk profiles, etc. And they also want to communicate with you easily and ideally through a single consistent channel. So that's on the supplier side. And then if we look at it actually from the other side of the table, it's almost two sides of the same coin. Your internal teams likely want the same thing. So if we were to summarize these, it's one place to go to communicate with suppliers and send the right information only to the relevant suppliers who need that information. We want happier suppliers that aren't calling and asking about POs, invoices, payment statuses, etc., because of course, all of these responses, this responding just adds cost, but it doesn't add value. And the business users need or want that suppliers respond quickly and completely to any requests that are related to, let's say, compliance, risk type initiative, lots and lots of examples that we can add there. And then on top of that, have a single place to go to manage all of those. And what we'll come on to in a moment, a little bit later, the supplier experience portal is the answer to a lot of those aspects. But of course, we don't just want to look at it as anecdotes, let's say, but put a little bit of market data behind that as well. So HICS has run a survey. We asked 500 suppliers to the world's largest companies how they felt about some of the aspects of working with some of their most important customers. Now, 47% of those suppliers in that survey said they found it difficult to resolve queries with their most important customers. 61% of suppliers in the same survey said they actually find it challenging to do their best work for this customer. 60% said too much time on administrative tasks for most of their important customers. And 8.4 is the average number of systems that a supplier has to log into to serve their most important customers. So that's the supplier side. But equally, if we were to look at this also, we did almost the sort of other side of the coin survey for enterprises as well. And we've got some interesting data here because it looks like brands, large organizations have recognized this, and they're definitely signaling their intent to address some of these issues. If we look at the survey results, 67% of organizations say they need to improve the time it takes to resolve queries for their suppliers. 64% said need to improve communications. 46% said need to streamline business processes, and 38% said need to improve the service and make it easier to do business with them. And then if we were to actually visualize then what's going on here, so we're actually, from an enterprise tech stack reality perspective, there is a lot of complexity here, but what we can see is happening is a lot of that is being pushed over to the supplier. So the supplier's reality means the complex relationship, the complex enterprise tech stack reality, which we have to live with, also means for them complex engagement, and that leads to inefficiency, can cause low compliance rates and higher exposure to risk, and those poor supplier experiences. And then just to give the visual of that supplier's desired world that I mentioned earlier, what they're looking for is to have that shielding from the complexity that sits under the hood, so to speak, that sits behind the scenes. And then equally from the enterprise perspective, we need to make sure that all of these tools and digital services that sit in the background are delivering us the ROI that we want, because we get that interaction, because we get the adoption and the engagement from suppliers. So in order to do that, and then to start looking at it from this improving the technology ROI perspective, we can summarize this as the kind of three key problems or challenges that we're spoken to about every single day in terms of what we need to do to achieve this. Number one, so suppliers are not logging into the systems or digital tools or services that they should do. This equals low adoption rates. Number two, on top of that, the ongoing supplier engagement is low, and therefore we need to improve that. And then another outcome of this, another challenge is the communication can be slower than we would like. Sometimes it's generic, can be out of date, and that's something that can lead to friction in the relationship. Bear this side in mind, because Phil, as we go through the demonstration in a moment, will be coming back to this to kind of bring how we overcome those challenges to life. So actually, with that, what I'll do here is I will pause and I will pass over to Phil now.
Hi, thanks, Duncan. Can you hear me?
No problem. Yeah, I think I've quit sharing. Have you taken control?
Yeah, perfect. I think so. So thanks, everyone. My name's Phil. I'm part of the solution consulting team. Very happy to be here and appreciate your time. As part of the solution demonstration, as Dunk said, what we're going to look at is how we remove three key complexities that we often see. So the first one being low adoption, the second one is poor or low engagement, and the third one being slow or inaccurate communication. For the first use case, I'm going to look at adoption. I'm going to take the persona of James, and James is a key contact for Acme, and he's one of your tier one suppliers. So James has had previous experience and pain with multiple portals, multiple solutions that he's had to log into, and so he's suffering from portal fatigue, and that's resulted in him avoiding logging in. And for your organization, it's resulted in low adoption rates. So the Hicks Experience Portal is a unified, intelligent portal that provides a segmented, one-to-one approach to the relationship that you want to build with your suppliers. The portal's set up by your stakeholders using our low and no-code approach. So as James, I've entered the portal, and as we can see, he's got a tailored and specific landing page. So some of the key ways that we remove barriers to adoption are by ensuring a one-to-one segmented approach for your suppliers and your individual supplier personas. So what this means is that your suppliers see what they need based on their segmentation. So no more generic forms, generic systems, generic tasks, or generic actions. Anything James needs is directly available within his pending tasks. As part of onboarding or enablement, James has realized that he does not need to sign into multiple platforms and systems to key in his data and information. We have consolidated the tasks and actions from the multiple best of breed systems that exist in your technology landscape. And from here, James can seamlessly navigate through your processes and workflow without needing to access multiple emails and multiple systems. What we've enabled for James is a supplier specific chatbot, and this supports the onboarding process. It allows James to ask and you to answer any queries or questions that he has. So, for example, if he wants to raise a query asking how he can raise a support ticket, he can do that directly from his chatbot on his landing page. Other ways that remove barriers to adoptions are by adding videos, news, and content that are all going to help support his onboarding journey and the ongoing relationship that he has with your organization. James has the ability to provide and enrich the data associated with these tasks in one single console. So he can request to update, extend, or amend his locations, his contacts, addresses, bank accounts, and in fact, certification and other documents that he's required to provide to you as part of that relationship. The intake and business process orchestration that Hicks provides supports processes such as onboarding, extensions, and amendments, all of which can be managed from his single supplier portal. So in summary, we provide a one-to-one tailored and specific approach for James. James has reduced his, and in fact your costs of adoption by removing delays in onboarding and by improving efficiency. And as you can expect, we've reduced onboarding times, ensuring full compliance with your business and regulative initiatives, as well as providing you with full auditability, transparency, visibility, and allowed you to make strategic decisions. For the second use case, I'm going to keep as James, but we're going to look at how Hicks supports and removes the barrier of a low supplier engagement. If I move back into the supplier portal as James, via our dashboard and our low code tabs, we provide James with a single pane for him to engage with your organization. This single view is not just for the relationship with you, but also with the technologies that you want James to access as part of that relationship. So a common challenge that James has had previously with engaging is that he's had to log into multiple portals and solutions. With Hicks, he can access those directly from his homepage, and via single sign-on can access those best of breed solutions. Via low code, what we've done is created a carbon tab here. Now, how this helps James engage is that now he has a specific area within his single supplier portal where we have data pulled in from one of our third-party partners, Ditch Carbon, and now James can see the specific actions which he needs to take to reduce his carbon footprint. Another common challenge with engagement is where James has previously struggled to engage with your AP around invoices, for example. But now he can find information directly within his invoice tab. At Hicks, we're not a P2P system, but what we're doing is presenting data from your best of breed systems in this single supplier portal. He can engage with AP on queries, or he can request to amend his invoices. He can easily see and filter invoices by status. He can access the invoice directly, and he can find reasons that his invoices were rejected. Another example is where you wish to share risk and or performance data. So previously, James has struggled to engage in understanding your view of the risk that his organization has. So here he can view the risk, and he can then take specific actions directly within his tasks or actions tab and ensure that he reduces the risk and provides you with confidence when working with his organization. So we provide that single engagement platform, consolidating data from your technology landscape and present it to James in a single pane of glass. The final common pain that we see, or the challenge that we need to overcome, is that with communication. So James has previously struggled to know who to communicate with, who to collaborate with, and how to do this. So what your organization has done using low code has created a help center tab, and you provided James with access to ask queries, raise questions, issues, concerns, complaints, or improvement plans directly with the contacts that you make available to James. So on a one-to-one basis, he can communicate with the relevant stakeholders within your organization. You've decided to share documents, policies, videos, any targeted content to support James in communicating with your relevant stakeholders. You've also added a collaboration tab. Now James can collaborate through our business process orchestration solution directly with the relevant stakeholders within your organization that manage his relationship. James can see targeted messages based on his segmentation or just his relationship with your stakeholders. He can view and access those and also go back and collaborate with your stakeholders. The outcome is that we've removed the friction points in collaborating with your suppliers and remove those friction points from James and the team within his organization. So we can provide you with the comfort that you have a compliant supply chain who's open to innovate with your organization. So in summary, the HICS Supplier Experience Portal is a unified intelligent platform and portal providing a segmented one-to-one approach to remove the adoption friction and increase onboarding and master data cycle times, increase effective and efficient engagement, and enhance collaboration and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Phil, for that overview and for the tour of all the main features there. So quite a bit to dig into. But what I'll do now, if I just start sharing my screen, just to give a bit of a summary of what we've seen here today, then. So just to wrap up, and to reiterate some of the points that Phil has made, some of the benefits of improving supplier experience and where we can start to see the value from which we build the business case. Number one, if you can provide a single location for the supplier to do business with you, it helps make those millions of daily supplier interactions more efficient, and you can reduce the associated costs with things like inquiries and dealing with those. The increased supplier engagement and adoption of digital services, that means, number one, improved data quality, but it also increases the value gained from all of that tech landscape that sits under the hood through being deployed. And number three, by establishing this solid foundations, companies benefit from more opportunities through that collaboration with their suppliers, puts them in a good place to become that customer of choice, as well as improving those areas such as risk, compliance, and performance. So finally, then, in terms of the wrap up, we know supplier is important to everybody's success, and therefore the supplier experience is becoming absolutely key. We also know from trends that the current technology adoption trends show us that the complexity is increasing, not decreasing. So this pressure is going up. So we do have to look at those other ways of working and increasing those adoption and engagement rates. And hopefully you've seen some of those features today that shows that Supplier Experience Portal does provide that new way of engaging suppliers, and that sets them up to be able to do their best work for you. So I shall pause there and stop sharing the screen. And then just have a look at any questions that we have. There is one actually, Phil, that came in whilst you were talking. It's around how do you balance the need for supplier self-service with maintaining strong relationships with key suppliers? Big topic, that one. So I don't know if you've got any kind of initial thoughts to kick that off.
Yeah, so I mean, what we saw was the use of personas in the portal. And that's a way of ensuring that the right self-service tools are provided to the right contacts within the supplier organization. When you mix that with approaches like supplier segmentation, so as I spoke about that one-to-one approach, suppliers are segmented. Your direct suppliers will see one portal, even though it's the same, or one content, and your indirect suppliers will see a different one. So it's ensuring that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, and using that one-to-one engagement approach.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, that is a big topic because you touched on supplier segmentation there, and supplier segmentation, and then using that for, and for those of you that came to Supplier Experience Live may have seen a session on it, kind of leads into or bleeds into that area of how do we market to our suppliers, which is this whole kind of new evolving area of supplier marketing. So if anybody wants more kind of ideas or tips around that, we have a lot of information on our website. Just simply go to the resources section, or if you're interested, get in touch with us and we can share more materials around how we kind of see that playing out. And then one last question that's been put to us: supplier adoption and engagement can be tough. and then especially with highly specialized or regulated suppliers. So what strategies do you suggest to increase supplier portal engagement from that perspective?
Yeah, so I think the points we mentioned don't throughout help with that, but there's probably a few things you could do on top of that. So if you surface information in the portal that's relevant to that supplier's specific industry and location, so not just generic information to all suppliers, and then to support their engagement, and you do that with targeted and specific content.
Yeah, makes sense. So giving them that reason to, well, number one, go into the portal for that type of information, and when they become used to it being there, I guess it's kind of repeat visits to go in and check for updates around that as well, particularly in the area of regulation, fast moving. So there's often lots of new
Changing.
factors to bear in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Phil, thank you so much for showing us those features on Supplier Experience Portal today. And that wraps up the questions for now. So unless there's anything else, I shall end the session here. But if there are any other questions that come to mind sort of after the event, do reach out to us. We're happy to answer those related to either Supplier Experience Portal or also how it relates to the wider HIX platform and sits as part of that. More than happy to address those points. So, yeah, thank you everybody for your time, and see you on the next call.
Thank you. Thanks all.